What are some of your favorite questions? Just kind of start a spiritual conversation with another person, maybe especially a student. What would you share with our listeners, those that are listening or watching today?
Sure. Yeah. That question is really good. It reminds me of when we went out with Nate for the first time, and we didn't really have training of how to start these conversations. We were going out on campus, and then we come back and we share the different things we did. But I just remember someone I really respected said he would just drop a pencil in front of someone and then pick it up and say, oh, hi there. Can I talk with you for a second? All these really funny, awkward ways to start questions. And then when I went with Nate once, who I was just like, oh, Nate knows exactly what he's doing. And I partnered with him, and he saw a table with 4 ladies and he goes, hello, ladies, may I sit down with you? And I was like, oh, so awkward. Funny. And I just realized over time, and I think they did as well, is just to be really clear and upfront and just say what you're thinking. And so I think my best advice for someone when they're wanting to start spiritual conversations is not to hold back what you're thinking. It's just share what you're thinking and don't be ashamed of it. If you're thinking, I wonder what your spiritual background is, just ask them like, hey, I never asked you this before, but I'm curious, what is your spiritual background? Or if you wonder if they've ever studied the Bible, or if you're wondering if they'd be okay if you share the gospel with them, just ask them. And so I think the best advice that I could give to someone with, how do I make transitions? How do I bring up the gospel? How do I ask questions? It's just say whatever you're thinking out loud. Don't try to be too creative. Just say like, hey, we're going out right now and talking to people about faith and asking questions. Do you have a few minutes? Could I sit down and ask you a few questions?
Wow.
Can I hear about your spiritual background? Be clear and upfront. It just makes it so much easier and less awkward. And I think people just really appreciate honesty and boldness. And so don't be afraid of trying to like hide your boldness and hide your honesty, and just think of some creative way to bring up what you actually want to say. I think people really respect that. An acronym that I like to use is we get to the gospel by being salty, and start conversations, ask questions, listen, tell the gospel. And then the why, it used to be salt, but I think the why is really important, is yes or no. Ask for a response. Do they want to say yes to Jesus? Do they want to say no to Jesus? And so my goal when I help people understand how to share their faith with lost people the goal isn't to share the gospel. The goal is to ask for a response. And so I want to take it further than just ending with, okay, and that's what Jesus did for us. But what do you think about that? Do you want to believe in Jesus, or do you not believe in him? What do you want to do with this information that you have? So saying yes or no to him. But I think my best advice and what I've just learned is, Pootie, you just got to tell them what you're thinking. Because I just remember going up to a student once. His name is Jose, still friends to this day. This guy, Kevin and I were going on campus together, and we stopped and we asked Jose if we could talk with him, and that we're just talking about spiritual things, asking questions. And he said, I'm really busy right now. I really don't have time. And I remember thinking like, if only he could give me 5 minutes at this time. And I think it's easy to be tempted to think like, okay, well, thank you so much for your time. Well, here's a flyer. You're invited. You're welcome to come to our Bible study whenever you want. But I just wanted to say what I was thinking. I was like, well, like, what if we could just have like 5 minutes? Like, would you have 5 minutes? And he said, sure. And so I remember looking at my phone and thinking, I really want to respect his time. I told him 5 minutes. So we ask a few questions. I start sharing the gospel with him, and 5 minutes was up. And I tell him like, hey, Jose, you said that we could talk with you for 5 minutes. I really want to respect that. Do you want to keep going, or are you done with the conversation? And he said like, no, like this is actually really interesting. And so to continue sharing the gospel with him. And after an hour, we exchanged phone numbers. We asked him if he wants to study the Bible. He said, sure, like y'all don't seem too weird. Like, let's study the Bible with you. And Kevin and him begin meeting, and then he begins meeting with someone else on our staff. 6 months later, he decides to follow Jesus.
Wow.
And then since then, it's been about almost 2 years now. He's been a leader at the BSM and just a close friend to many. But I just look back at that and I think, what if I didn't say what I was thinking? What if I just said, like, you know what? Okay, like I just want to avoid the situation. So you can go back to studying. But I was thinking, I really do want to share the gospel with you. And I could tell you're just not really sure if you actually want to talk to us. And so if I have 5 minutes of your time, I just really want the gospel to be the filter. I don't want the way I'm dressed or the way we're talking or how like we came up from behind you to be the reason for why you don't want to talk to us. I want to share the gospel, and I want to see if like you are interested in hearing more. And I want the gospel to be a filter.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of sharing with the people you do know. It kind of befuddles me to see people going out and sharing. They're willing to share with people they don't know, but they're walking right past the people they do know.
Yeah.
And so it's not an either or, but those that are listening or watching today, please use the opportunity with all those relationships around you to share the gospel. But there are times and ways and places that sharing with people you don't know previously, God can use in some amazing ways. I remember as we were starting a ministry on a particular campus, Pootie, we were going in the dorms and, down the hallways. And if a door is open, to me, that's an invitation. Hey, the door's open, and I just, like you say, half the battle is just getting started of a conversation, just get the conversation going. And I'd take my head in the door and go, oh, there's a basketball. Are you a basketball player? Boom, here we are. We're in a conversation, I remember one guy that came to Christ was a key man. I saw some paintings and I said, oh, are you an artist? And he was, and now he's telling me about his paintings. And next thing I know, he's in a small group. Next thing I know, he's receiving Christ. Next thing I know, he's a key leader in our ministry, So I would start with anything going in those dorm rooms. Oh, there's a bed there. Is that where you sleep? Well, duh. Yes. But anyway, just getting started is half the battle, isn't it? It really is.